$250,000 business loan at the bank and from multiple locations, private lending options for startups and non-startups, as well as multiple business credit cards at 0% interest for the first 6 to 18 plus months, up to 250K, if not up to 150K, especially in the first round, and getting more thereafter. I will be uncovering all of this in this video, what it takes, the qualifications, the how, as in the process, and more importantly, where you are likely going wrong right now in these times and how to correct course fast so you can be on the right path. But before I get into all of this, welcome in. If this is your first time watching me, my name is Michael with Viral Funding Solutions, and I've been a business funding expert, a business loan broker expert, as well as a pre-underwriter slash underwriter for many years now, helping many people in their business and businesses navigate through many different times, especially right now with a lot of instability, uncertainty, a lot of over-promising and under-delivering. It feels very overwhelming. I understand where you are coming from. I've been there, and getting funding for my business and businesses, it's not a walk in the park. Who do you trust? Who do you turn to and continue to get funding under? And is it very transactional with the person you're going with and the organization? Are you actually getting a long-term relationship, a partnership, and a roadmap for success? There's so much more in question. And also, one thing I want to go over before I jump right into this and go into the qualifications and some things is my type of content isn't always the most aesthetically pleasing. You don't see me putting up theatrics or anything of that nature. I want to keep this as raw as possible and as authentic as I can. And one other thing too is I'm very introverted. Very analytical, the cerebral type. I review bank statements, go through credit reports, P&Ls, balance sheets. I really like focusing on those subject matters, calculating mathematics, systems. That's my thing, helping people reorganize their business, understanding their expenses and what other levels they need to attain to in growth, more revenue, EBITDA, all of these other things. That's how my brain works. I'm not a talker, I'm not a wordsmith, but I do have a lot of experience and expertise. And it's just getting out of this head and helping you understand what it takes. And for more information, down below in the description, I'll leave you a questionnaire form that you can fill out. Once you do, I will be able to analyze and evaluate it and reply back via email with a very comprehensive and personalized email response, even with the PDF included, showing you your best funding option and options thoroughly broken down like nobody else's business, showing you things that are not even publicly released. It's amazing. You'll even get a free 6-step pre-approval lending checklist and a large grant documentation list, more or less. So you can pick that up down below if you haven't already. And if you have, I'll get back to you. And if I already did, there's that. I can get busy from time to time and I have catch-up work, which is great for you too, because it's the opportunity cost of working with somebody who knows their stuff, is not fluff, who actually goes deep into things, ROI, profitability, understanding margins, understanding different numbers and metrics, the data, what you can and can't measure exactly, going into lifetime value, lifetime gross profit value, acceleration of growth. There's so much to look at a business fundamentally, and as well as it grows, and understanding the numbers, the math is what you need to get attuned to. Right now, you might be everywhere, just running every department, or you have somebody for each, but you should, as a business owner, ultimately understand the numbers and how they work. Reverse engineer those numbers to get to the foundation and understand what it took to get there. So right over here with 250,000 in business loans or a business loan at multiple banks, it makes it difficult. So I always say focus on one at a time and one relationship, especially with how much DTI you will have, focusing on the consumer business debt part of the equation and your debt to income ceiling. There's so much to look at, and those are just some of the factors that come in hand. Cash flow analysis, profitability, those are the things that banks will be looking at. So if you were to go to a Chase, I'm not going to get into all of the exact details that Chase is looking for in this video, but you go through here looking for a small business loan like many people normally do. And they're over here looking at a term loan, draw loan, advised line, an SBA loan perhaps. And you start to figure out, okay, well, I can go through Chase or I can go through wherever you're going, through whatever bank it is, and you're trying to decide exactly what is best in your interest. And over here, you can scroll down and find multiple 0% interest business credit cards or non 0% interest business credit cards with like 1.5% cash back. You have 3x points, 5% cash back in select business categories. And then it says ready to partner with Chase. So that's what I wanted to show you from this point of view. And when I hovered over here, and I clicked on small business loans, you notice that it kept me on the same page, but I wanted to show you where to locate this. You see loans overview, business line of credit, commercial real estate financing, which the market for that isn't good. And so right here, you can see a business line of credit, small business loans, commercial real estate financing. A lot of people tend to get or want, let's say, a business line of credit that they can't get. A lot of banks are already having a hard time with deposits, with bringing every kind of transaction in. It's difficult for them. So they have selective criteria. They're looking at how much they can distribute, their securities. There's so much more. But Chase business line of credit, lines of credit starting at 10,000 to 500,000, pricing a variable rate indexed to prime. You also have things like SOFR. You can see something between 0.5 to 7% on top of prime rates. There's so much to pay attention to. The payment structure, usually monthly repayments, which really does help you. There's a lot of key advantages to going to get a business line of credit. And then you see a commercial line of credit and what would be the key features to that. So I wanted to show you a little bit of that from just the Chase point of view without getting too far into it all. And again, we're on this page again, where you can see all this on term loans, loan amounts starting as low as 5,000, terms as long as 7 years, variable or fixed interest rates, depending on your product, fixed monthly payments, and then finding your nearest branch. So this is likely out of the question because if you're a startup, getting a bank term loan, even an SBA loan that will require around a 20 or 25% more as a basis, so about 35, that's kind of pushed up a little bit more in equitable collateral or let's say liquidity in this case. So that's what they primarily want to look at is how much liquidity and how much can you put as well as for the down payment on whatever it is you're doing as well on top of the post-closing liquidity, working capital, making sure you have extra on hand. A lot of banks are looking at how much you are depositing daily, what kind of transactions those are. And it's no different than when I'm looking at it. When we go through, especially a lot of like SBA loans or bank term loans through an FDIC bank, if it's not Chase, if you're not going through Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or any of these other heavy hitters, there are alternative options. And I have also connections with family offices. There's a lot of stuff out there that is super helpful and even more affordable and in your best interest, with no pun intended on the interest part. And so with a lot of this, it's already pushing you back. They're going to ask for P&Ls, balance sheets, the cash flow, income statement, 2 to 3, a lot of the times 3+ years of personal and business tax returns. If you're buying a business through the SBA, I'd rather look at 3 to 5+ years, 3 to 6 years. So I understand the history of it, where it once was to where it is now. Are there fluctuations in the revenue, gross revenue, net profitability? There's so many different terms that I won't get into in this video and explain each one of them and what I look for. But just understand it takes, understand it, please. Uh, understand that it takes more energy and time. I was meaning to say, please understand. So it does take quite a bit of work. The credit requirements that a lot of these banks are looking for is like a 720, if not 680 in some cases, but 720, 750 plus is best. It can take 3 to 6 months to get bank loans and bank financing, sometimes more or less with an SBA loan, you see within 1 to 3 months, 1 to 4 months sometimes, other times 7 to 14 days, depending on the type of an SBA loan that it is, a quicker injection of working capital funds. Are you looking to grow and expand the business? There's so much to outline, and it can be favorable 1 to 10 year terms as opposed to the alternative. So that's what you have a lot going, and it can be going against you. So when we look at private lending options, we can look at like these revenue backed lenders. So let me go ahead and put that right here. So we'll put RBL for revenue backed lenders. There's different ways I could put this, but the alternative to bank financing SBA loans is a quicker injection within 1 to 2, if not 1 to 5 days, sometimes same day, excuse me. And this can be in very quick and out of an underwriting process as opposed to bank financing, SBA financing, all the things they have to check off. And I really do know what it takes. I'm on the back end doing a lot of this as well with the lender. So I understand the communication, I understand the processing part of it. And that's where I get a lot of fulfillment too, is the processing, the bank statement reviews, a lot of this. And then once it's in processing, going from there on out and having my hands in these. So you see, with revenue-based lending, it can take less time, but the interest and the type of a repayment is going to be a lot interest higher, repayment term lesser. So you can see 4 to 24 month terms with these. On average, with some of these, it can be about 6 to 8 months. So you really have to ask yourself, can I qualify one for bank financing and SBA loan with the requirements that they're asking for? They're going to ask for a lot more in revenue, not only just a minimum of 250,000 with a lot of heavy hitter banks. Sometimes 250,000 minimum is best. And for the last 2 years, do you have 250,000 minimum, 680 credit, and on all three consumer credit bureaus, or a 660 credit score with Experian that weighs most? But do you have business liquid credit of 155 plus? So business credit is huge when they're looking at bank financing, looking at placing a blanket lien on all assets. Are they asking for full collateral coverage? Is it 80%? That's what you'll see from these other options. But when you come to a revenue-based lender, it's less of a what kind of collateral do you have and what can I put a lien and not a lien on. And they will look at that with the alternative. A lot of the times you'll see them put a lien on an asset or on all assets, especially from multiple businesses, just for security and just to make sure that everything is done right. But they're looking at more of your revenue. They're looking at more of your depositing frequency, the type of deposits, the transactions. You have negative days, non-sufficient funds, the ledger, the average daily bank balance, the average monthly balance. I'm looking at a lot of this. How much do you keep versus what goes out? How much of your revenue per month have you already exceeded towards helping you pay off a loan or an advance, or how much in funding or how much debt can you actually carry on, what can be consolidated. But this is a quicker injection. They're looking more at the revenue, the cash flow deposits, credit as low as 450, sometimes 500 and above. So there's a little bit of that and what it would take. I'm not going to go into every specific requirement right now because of what we're going through in this video. But let me go ahead and select this here so I can remove it. So it'll remove some of the things. That's okay. And back to here, we'll go into now the 0% interest. So for one, there's revenue backed lending. There's other words for it. There is collateral backed lending, specifically collateral. I'm not going to get too much into that, but if you have account receivables, unpaid invoices, you're not using a factoring company, or you're looking to go away, inventory, real estate, heavy machinery equipment or equipment of other kind, and we can do a cash out refinance for favorable terms, for better on commercial property, for any investment real estate that you own, especially free and clear. Those are some of the things that I can look at. There's development of land. There's so much to look at, but I can't cover everything in this video. And then you over here have credit backed lending or credit backed funding, we can say, with each and every one of these too. And this is where it's great for a lot of startups to then equal non-startups, so back and forth, and or vice versa, you could say, if you're beginning a new startup venture. And what the business credit card part of this takes is lesser to no documents. All that could be required is the articles of organization, certification of formation within the state. You're incorporated. It is a legal business that is in good standing, that it can be checked, and it appears the certificate, the SOS certificate, all these things, the the EIN verification letter, and a copy of your front and back driver's license. Sometimes the front will do enough. And what I'm able to help you and many others with is get multiple business credit cards. That's if you qualify. If you don't, you will have an understanding for why that is, even before we start, or sometimes even after it. And where most people are going wrong, that I've already mentioned, is they go for the wrong loan. Bank loans don't work. The SBA doesn't work. Takes too much liquidation for them to dissolve assets. You're looking at Article 9s and others. You're looking at defaults and what a lot of the things that it takes on the back end. It is quite a bit of work that you don't even see. I'm not saying you take for granted. I'm not saying that at all, but what you don't even see. There's so much we're doing and what's getting done on the back end to do checks to make sure this is all getting processed, reviewed correctly, making sure you're getting the right funding amount if there's an offer in place. There's so much to detail. And another thing where most people get it wrong is one, the education, but then two is being ignorant, stubborn, arrogant, egotistical, cocky. I'm not saying cocky is always bad. Results help showcase that you are, and a lot of people can be cocky in a way, in a good way that is, and your results stand by you. But being cocky in the sense of like, and not in a good way, and continuously showing that, and that appears and creates a lot of friction and resistance, not only in the process of funding, but as a character and as a person, having the characteristic traits, the values, the vision, the mission, the ethics, the morals, everything aligned correctly is very helpful. And I've worked on myself, personal development for many years. I was once an academic student studying chemical engineering. Then I went into business, got my degree through there. I've worked in construction, manufacturing, retail, was in warehousing. I was even in the courier role at one point. I don't know why I was doing this. This is rampaging stuff. Administrative to then marketing stuff, helping them out, looking at financing stuff, going over budgeting in terms of that, helping improve in different areas, and then eventually in a financial logistics role for a huge contracting company servicing HP and Peace Health and other vendors and those that were in the facility in surrounding areas. But that company went down under, and there was a transition before, went down under, 50 plus people were leave. Unfortunately, I'm one of them. I have to go back on employment benefits and food stamp cards. And that was a hard time. Even going out for a family meal felt difficult. Paying even 25, 50, 75% of it, 100%. Like at times I wouldn't speak up because I felt so embarrassed. Other times I would pay and I felt hard for me because I had to be spending, going to groceries, everything was difficult. So I knew I had to decide to do something different than just the get more certifications, go get another job or a career. Uh, so I started a business and I began a digital marketing agency, lead generation business through that process, affiliate marketing in the health space, the online business, finance space, eventually other ventures. So I've been around for some time, and that's, I guess, the long story short of it. I'll leave more information down below if you want to learn more about my story. And so here it takes a little bit more of qualification for business credit cards. And I'm looking at 700 plus credit on all three consumer credit bureaus, not just one, not 680 and then 700 on two of them, but 700 plus. Because of credit card debt, there's been a lot with credit requirements, no more than three inquiries, usually in the last 6 months, sometimes in the last 12 months. You're looking at sometimes no more than four, but usually three. And you don't want to have too many opened accounts. I'm not going to get too far into that, but no more than three, usually in the last 6 or 12 months, no more than four sometimes. Just depends on the economy and where we're at, and a lot of changes from the organization, lending, uh, uh, tree, and lending organization, you could say. But that's what it more or less takes. And if you don't have a 700 plus credit score, sometimes a 680, but just for a personal loan to be used for business could work with an addition of a business credit card or two here and there if it's 0% or not. So it's better that you have 700 plus credit. And if you don't, use a credit partner to assist. Somebody that can come in for themselves, use their own personal credit to apply with, not co-signing, not co-borrowing in this, at least now, but getting in with somebody else who can go in and wants to apply. They don't have to be a part owner of the business. And if they are not, then they can only get personal loans. If they are at least 10% usually, then they can help get 0% interest business credit cards for the business. So having somebody else with better credit will really help amplify things. And a lot of this I'll leave down below the questionnaire form that you can fill out in the description, and so much more. And one other thing that I'd like to show you right here is the questionnaire form. The layout may look different over time, but this is it right here. Some of the results I've helped people with, and I just put a handful of them that I can fit on there, but there's many more. And up here, you'll select from one of the two options, and we're going to get for free over here, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video. And then let's say I'm a non-startup, so I'll select this one. And then you'll want to read through this, but fill out this form here. And like I said, again, I'll be able to evaluate, analyze it, and give you a proper email response with that's personalized, even with the PDF, including your best funding option and options. I'll show you things that are not even publicly released, things that you're just not getting everywhere. And not just doing this whole spray and pray method of applying to different places just because you saw a commercial, you heard it from somebody else, you saw an ad. And that's what a lot of people will go and do. And just giving your information to anybody and everybody, you have to be very careful and protective of it, even if it's just a soft pull. Now, you have a lot of your information given to someone, then that person may go send it out to other networks. They might not protect your information, they may, but then something else, you don't want them continuing to bombard you. It's just being selective and having a higher standard for yourself. And that comes with building the character, building the belief, understanding your fears and why that is, and how many of those do you have, but where does that come from? Your misunderstanding, your myths, just overall the belief system, the sub programming. Is it opinionated? Is it actual factual information, preset beliefs, and really working on that characteristic part to really propel you not only in life, but as well as in business. So that's what I wanted to cover in this video. Going from bank to bank, start at one. If there's more to get, if you're not over leveraged and you need to partner up and get another relationship going, there are other banks, but usually you want to go to one, build that foundation, build that respect with them, through them, your primary bank and association there. Went over some of the things on the business line of credit, the bank term loan, a little bit of SBA stuff, the alternative revenue-backed private lending option with revenue-based loans or revenue-based advances in that space, revenue-based lending, the collateral-backed lending, there's some things there, and then the creative credit-backed funding through multiple 0% interest business credit cards. And just looking at overall credit history, there's a lot more that I can cover, but I'm not going to spend all the time right now. I'll try to leave a quiz format thing down below so you can check out for the business credit cards and what it would take. And then you can submit things for the review on our back end and on the back end there for processing and credit report review and just everything. Okay. So that'll be all from me. I hope you got a lot of value from this video. If you did, I'd greatly appreciate you giving it a thumbs up. Please feel free to share it with others who you feel find value from it. You don't know how many times I had to remake this. I'm not going for perfect, but I'm also not going for somebody who's fake. I want to give you, again, the most authentic, real, raw content and be my best self. I'm not a talker, I'm not a wordsmith, but I do think my thoughts thoroughly before I say things. And I wanted to make sure you had the best, again, authentic information and from an actual expert, not somebody just throwing you into referrals and just going here, not doing much of the work and just going about their business and doing what's in their best interest. I'm looking out for your best interest at heart as a person first and then in business. Who you are as a person, that matters first for me, your health, your relationships, what you like to do, what you don't like to do, what triggers you, what's your biggest motivational piece or pieces, what's your biggest why do you keep doing what you're doing, not only in business, but in your own life and different aspects of it. It's pretty cool stuff. And again, I'll leave a story about who I am down below in the description if you'd like to learn more, or in time you will. And if you already have, appreciate you. Thank you. Love you. And if you have not subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe and click the bell notification icon so you do not miss any future content on this kind of material, SBA updates, anything else out there, not only funding related, even marketing, understanding how to position yourself better, how to get better accounting, bookkeeping services. There's so much more that I can help with. I'm not a one-trick pony. I built out multiple businesses and I understand how to leverage correctly. So again, go ahead and do that if you haven't yet. And down below in the description, all the information will be there to get started. Thank you and talk soon.